Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker.
I'm not Lee White, but I am Will Terry, and all three of us are professional illustrators. We've all worked for all the major publishers in the business. Together, we published somewhere around 75 children's books, and we've all taught illustration at university art schools.
That's right. Each week, we bring you either an interview that we're doing, like we're doing today, or we answer your questions or some sort of topic of discussion. Today, we have Lisa Bardot. I want to excuse Lee. He's on assignment. He's currently working on Self-Publishing Pro, which is launching soon here. So we just want to make sure if self-publishing your art book, your comic, your picture book, your whatever, your card game, whatever it is you've got going on is something that you've always wanted to do, but you never knew how to do it. Self-Publishing Pro is for you. It is a 9-week mapped course that's going to show you step-by-step how to do what we've been able to do, Will, Leah, and I, with our own Kickstarters and the books that we've launched. And anyways, it's a ton of information. So Lee's working on that. We took some time out to do this interview with Lisa. Will, what'd you think of Lisa? She's
very
incredible,
impressive.
huh?
Yeah. I'll tell you that it's impressive enough to start a really, really successful business. That is, You've got my attention. But the fact that she's a mother and raising children and trying to balance that, that whole family life with her husband is even like, I don't even know. Like, I went through the kids. Like, we had kids, and I did my fair amount of really watching kids while I was drawing and painting. And it was so distracting. And so, like to be an illustrator, you need huge chunks of time to work on something. You can't just be interrupted every 15, 20 minutes. And so that is just...
Yeah, she's been able to figure out how it worked. What's cool about Lisa is she turned, like, this wasn't sort of plan A. I'm just going to head out there and make an art business that teaches people how to make art and I make brushes. But this was something that she was able to recognize success when it came to her. It was, hey, I really like drawing on the iPad. This is something that I enjoy. I should teach people how to do this. Hey, people really like how I do this. And I love how she just sort of followed this path to where she's at today, to where she's, her husband works full-time with her. She has an employee that I think she said works full-time or is close to full-time. She can afford a nanny to help out with the kids, right? And she's able to do all of this and still create her own art at the same time while running these businesses. If you don't know who we're talking about, her name's Lisa Bardot. She runs bardotbrush.com, so go check that out. Also, the artmakersclub.com, which is her online community of art makers. She started making art every day challenge, where you're given a prompt every single day of the year to make a drawing. So if you don't know what to draw on any particular day, go check it out, and she'll have a prompt for you to work on. And you should also check out her drawing digital book that recently was published, which is also something that she's put some time and effort into. In this interview, we get into how she started her business, how she knew to shift, I guess, from one business to another, the importance and the value of doing art retreats. We talk about Procreate and sort of the how Procreate is like been key to I would say a generation of people having access to digital tools, which is really cool. Is there anything else you want to add before we get into this?
Well, she talked about her retreat to France and also to Mexico, and
right,
yeah,
and then the whole balancing that with family life, as well. So lots to
great interview
from this interview. Let's get right into it. Yeah, so thanks for joining us. And I met you at Lightbox last year, and you came to the Inktober mermaid panel, I guess. And you were wearing a pencil costume, which was awesome. Hard not to
Halloween.
miss you.
I was like, that seemed like an appropriate outfit for that venue.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what was your? I guess why'd you want to go to Lightbox, and what'd you get from Lightbox?
Yeah, I've been going to Lightbox for a few years now. And I first started going to Lightbox, I was invited by Procreate, and it was my first time getting to meet the team in person because I work closely with them. But yeah, it's this time around, now that I've gone a few years, I was just super into getting to meet people and talk to people and go to, I went to a lot of the different panels and things like that, which was really cool. I always learn a ton because the people like yourself that are there speaking are just so talented and knowledgeable. But yeah, mostly I just loved getting to meet people and talk to people, walk around the expo and talk to the different artists and see all their cool stuff that they're selling. And then also I just love spending time with the Procreate team. They're one of the big reasons that I like to go now.
So tell us, how'd you get involved with Procreate? And what is your current status with Procreate right now?
Yeah. Do you mean the company or just like my creative practice in Procreate in general, or both?
Let's start with your with the company, and then I want to hear about the beginnings of that, the creative practice as well.
Yeah. I'd been in, well, I guess they're kind of intertwined, those answers, because I came onto the scene using Procreate pretty early on, before they really took off. I started using it, I think, in 2013, 2014. Yeah. So I've been using it for a really long time. And I started, as I started dabbling in it and working really close, working a lot in Procreate, I started making my own Procreate brushes, which then I started selling. So I was starting that business up, and then I wanted to teach people how to use my brushes, and I started teaching on YouTube. And that kind of launched my education career. I really fell in love with the teaching side of things. So I came out with there wasn't a lot of videos about how to use Procreate at this time. And I came out with a video, just kind of a very clear cut video, how to use Procreate, and it kind of took off. That one really did well. And I think that I just kept sharing about Procreate, and I am such a huge Procreate fan, huge Procreate people, and I think that just got the attention of Procreate. So I think I first met up with them in 2019. So this would have been a year after I launched that first video, and I started doing YouTube videos in Procreate, and I started a drawing challenge, which is what I was asking you about when we met up at Lightbox in 2019. So that whole year just kind of started things going. So I went to Lightbox in 2019. I met it with the Procreate team, and I did a live stream with them over the years, and then this past year, they brought me in early on the Procreate Dreams, which they just launched in November, which is their new animation app. So I got to come in on that project, and they wanted me to do some education around it. They flew me to London to do a demo at their big reveal at Playgrounds, and that was amazing. And so it's just been really fun to work with them, and they are just the nicest people. That's kind of the best part of it. They're just so nice and humble and just cool people. So I really, really enjoy getting to work with them.
I want to point out, you kind of breezed over that your video did well, pretty good. And what you mean by pretty good is 6 million views for one video. That's huge.
Yeah.
So and your YouTube channel has 358,000 subscribers. How often are you posting videos on YouTube?
Yeah, right now, this year, I'm trying to get really back into it and trying to do a video every 2 weeks or so. Over the past few years, it's been in 2020, I did so many videos. It was the pandemic, and I was just video. I just got it. That's the pandemic is also a really big catalyst for like the growth of everything that I do. People were really eager to learn at that point in time. And I was just like, let's just show up and live stream, and ended up teaching a ton that year. But I always do about like, I don't know, like 20 videos a year or something like that. I'm trying to kind of like amp that up this year. But yeah.
That's cool. So I'm just trying to like grasp this whole like Lisa Bardot empire, I guess. So it started with I like to draw and Procreate. And I should add, in 2014, that predates the Apple Pencil. So you were like,
yes,
there wasn't any pressure sensitivity or anything.
Yeah, I think it's funny. My first foray into drawing on the iPad, I had an iPad mini that I got as a gift from my husband. And I was at like an Aaron Brothers, which is an art store. And at the checkout line, there was like it was a stylus that looked like a paintbrush. It had bristles and everything. And I was like, oh, that's a stylus? That's interesting. I didn't know you could draw on the iPad. And so then I started researching apps, and that's how I came across Procreate. And I started out with like a Wacom after the paintbrush one. I started out with a Wacom. So it had some pressure sensitivity. But when the Apple Pencil came out, oh my gosh, that was such a game changer. It just like, it changed everything. And that's when I really like, me drawing on the iPad, like really, really took off. That year after I got it right when it came out. And then I think it was 2016. That year I set a goal for myself to draw something every day, because I really wanted to focus on my illustration and just kind of like figure out my style and like figure out like what was going to come out of me if I really put the time into this. And that really just changed everything for me, because I found creativity as a form of self-expression, which was new for me at the time, even though I've been like creative my whole life. And that's when I started working on my Procreate brushes and just really focusing on just sharing like what I was learning and what I was going through on social media and things like that. So that was a really big thing for me to have done, and really important to me. And that's why I started my drawing challenge, Making Art Every Day, because it was such an impactful thing for me, and I wanted to share that with others. And so I started a drawing challenge. It's an ongoing one. It's every single day of the year. I've been doing it. We're in year 6 now. So all those, I should add up the number of drawing prompts. It's a lot.
Thousands.
It just, it's every single day. We do a different theme every month, and every week there's like kind of a mini theme within the theme. And I try to release tutorials that are kind of based on, what we're doing for Making Art Every Day. So it's all kind of centered around that. But yeah, I think if you, like, I really believe in having a creative practice, and how, important it is for my well-being and my mental health and all my creativity. So I wanted to share that with others.
That's cool. So in 2016, you started Draw Every Day. Or that's when you started drawing every day. Yeah. The challenge started 6 years ago. In
2019. Yeah. So in the middle of that, I had like another baby. I had another business that I was running. I was a wedding photographer at the time. So I was already a business owner like for a long time before that. I think I was doing wedding photography in partnership with my husband for like 11 years before we like stopped and fully switched over to this. But there was definitely years of overlap where I was building up this new art-based business while we're kind of like still trying to maintain the wedding photography business. So
that's amazing.
It's full tilt.
So your husband works with you?
Yeah, we do. We both run the business together. He's kind of like, we call him our chief operations officer. Wow. So he handles like all sorts of things, customer support. He handles, all the taxes and just kind of the less fun stuff. And I get to focus on the creative stuff and kind of like planning what we're doing and things like that.
I need a husband.
It's pretty great. Not everyone can do it. People are all like, how do you work with your husband? I'm like, we've just always done it. Like, we actually met, we both worked at Apple. So that's where we met each other, and we've just always worked together. So it works for us.
That's amazing. And then how many kids you have?
We have 3 kids.
3 kids. So busy house.
It is definitely a busy house.
So, and what's the age span of the kids?
My kids are, the oldest one is 10, then almost 7, and then 3.5.
Okay. And how does that work? Like, is it, he's got the kids for certain times of the day, you have the kids for a certain time, or is it split up by week or what?
No. We well, the biggest key to making this all work is that we have a full-time nanny. We couldn't do it without her. So
Okay.
so she is the reason we are able to do any of what we do. And help with the kids. But other than that, like, we both, split the responsibilities. Although I would say he's probably he does a bit more than me. He's like so good. He like does all the drop-offs and like the pickups. He's an amazing cook.
Wow.
He cooks our meals. Like he's like super super amazing dad. I just like I feel so lucky.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Can I go back for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer this, but this was when you talked about your YouTube channel and the video that went viral. Were you a partner at that time with YouTube?
What do you mean a partner?
Were you getting paid?
Monetized.
When I started my YouTube channel, I don't think I had enough to get paid. Like no, not at the time. I think I might have, after that video is when I, was able to like turn on monetization.
Because I've heard a lot of people have had like a breakout video and they wish that they were a partner at that time, but they weren't. So they didn't get paid for their breakout. So
yeah. I mean, it wasn't, it didn't like immediately go viral. So there was some like buildup where I was like, okay, I've got my like, I think it's like you need 1,000 subscribers to turn on monetization. And so I was able to turn it on. Like, yeah, I've definitely gotten plenty of ad revenue from that video.
Good.
But yeah.
That's cool.
So, going back to your business, it seems like what's the bread and butter of the business? Is it the brush pack sales? Is it book sales? Is it YouTube AdSense, money? Is it what are your revenue streams, and what would be like the percentage, whatever you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, so it's definitely shifted over the years because for most of the time it was the brushes, and that was like 90% of everything. So I was selling brushes, and that was like the main thing that I was doing, but I was also like posting on YouTube. And the YouTube also, like, a lot of the videos are using my brushes, so it definitely like feeds into the brush sales, of course. Yeah. It's our best funnel for sales in that sense. And then since I have really like, it's really interesting because I started selling brushes and then I started doing the education, like I said, and I've just like, it helped me realize like how much I love to teach. And so that's kind of like been my focus for now a few years, is like really, making videos and doing courses and teaching people. And now I have my membership, which we launched a year and a half ago, called Art Makers Club, and we do live events every month, so live tutorials and like Q&As and things like that. And then we have like a course library and like a really amazing community of supportive artists, and they're like such great people. And so now that I've launched that, that's kind of become like my main source of revenue. So it's probably like, I don't know, probably like 30% other stuff, and then the rest is like my brushes, like half my brushes and my education. I also do Skillshare, so I do get some revenue from that. And then there's like little things, gosh, now I can't think. But little things that aren't that much of the piece
like you have
pie.
an online shop, right?
Are you able to bring people that take your classes on Skillshare over to your website as well? Like, can you invite them to come and see what you're doing?
I mean, Skillshare's not, they don't really like that.
Okay. I just wondered.
But I know once people kind of like I know that I use like Skillshare as a way for people to find me. Like I can access a whole different audience by having my classes on Skillshare. And once they kind of are introduced to what I do and how I teach, and if they are into that, they often, find my other videos, whether they like go over to YouTube, and they kind of like, it's kind of a way to introduce them to my ecosystem,
right.
if you will. Yeah.
And then so as far as like the website that you have built, was that something that like your husband did, or you hired out a professional to build the website, and and set up that whole system of SEO and all the stuff that kind of goes into a website?
Yeah, it's definitely a team effort. I have 2 websites. So I have one for my brushes, bardotbrush.com, and then artmakersclub.com is the membership. I built Bardot Brush. It's all on WordPress. And we definitely like work together on like optimizing for SEO and things like that. And just kind of like back end management. Like he works on that, but all the like creative and like design and like all that, making the website, I do that part of it. And then our membership's built on a platform called Podia. And so me and I have one employee who's almost full-time employee. We worked on building that together.
Awesome. Yeah, it's everything just seems so cohesive and like definitely like the Bardot brand,
Thank you.
Which I'm sure is very, very intentional. And
and I have my background is actually in graphic design. That's what I went to school for. Graphic design and photography are my degrees. So I definitely like design is such an important thing for me. I love design. So I never actually became a graphic designer, but I've gotten to use that for like all the businesses that I've run. And it's been such a like key thing in kind of like standing out and making, just having my voice visually, I guess.
Yeah. That's one of the big things I tell like illustrators and people wanting to go into this sort of side of creativity is like learn how to do graphic design on some level. Like just learn kerning and fonts and how things should be laid out in an easy to read manner, because a little bit of graphic design goes a long way.
It's very, very true. When we started our photography business in 2009, a long time ago, like we had this really like designed website, and this was like early days for like that didn't exist at the time, and it really helped us. Like people were like, "Oh my gosh, like your photos, but I love your website." Like, so it's funny.
So how'd you like? When did you decide to like say, hey, the wedding photography thing, it was a good run, but really we should put all our effort into Bardot Brush and Art Makers Club and all this stuff? How did that decision come about?
Yeah. So we had been doing wedding photography for a long time, since 2009. So this would probably be like 10 years into that. But probably like 5 years into that is when I started to like feel a pull towards something else. I just knew like it wasn't fueling me in the same way that it used to. And that whole period, those 5 years were like a real struggle, because I was like, I need to keep doing this because I need to earn money and support my family and things like that. But like, I want to do something else, but I don't know what it is. So there was a lot of inner turmoil. That's why when I started the Drawing Every Day project for me in 2016, like that, why it was so important. But in 2019 I think I started selling brushes 2016, 2017. I should look that date up. I can never remember. And it was just kind of like a little side hustle, and in 2019 is when really I started to sink everything I had into it. It's when I started the drawing challenge, when I made that video to kind of support the drawing challenge, because I'm like, hey, you should draw every day because it's awesome. You should do it in Procreate because it's awesome, but you might not know how to use Procreate. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. And then we'll draw. Okay. That was like the idea. And then I just kind of went in on it. I think that year or the year before that, I launched my own website. Before that, I was selling on Creative Market all my brushes. And then that year was crazy because we had like a full, 40 weddings or something, all while also trying to run this full-time art business. And then came 2020. And that's when everything just kind of did this. Thankfully, I knew we were winding down the wedding photography business, so we only had like 2 weddings booked for 2020. But if we had been still relying on that in the pandemic, that would have been really bad. So I'm always just so grateful that things just kind of, the timing worked out the way that it did. So in 2020, it was like full on into all the art stuff and education and brushes and things like that.
Yeah. So that's super cool. How many brush packs would you say you've sold over the years? Is there any way to even keep track of that?
I think I added them up, but it was probably been a year since I did that. I think I wrote it on my website though. Hold on, I'll tell you. 1 second.
Because I remember reading that somewhere, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's a lot of brush packs or brushes."
Yeah.
I don't know how you did the accounting on that.
Oh gosh, I had the number written down, but it's a big number. I think it's like, yeah.
And we already know that when Lisa says big numbers, she's talking not thousands,
It was just
not
a
tens
few.
of thousands.
Yeah.
That's so
But
cool.
and it's really cool. And we also do some like free brush packs too, which are like another good, funnel to get people in. And that there's a lot there too with the free stuff. Yeah.
So one of the big questions artists these days, I'm sure you're getting it with your community as well, is like, how do I balance the creation with like the promotion of myself, or the making versus the marketing? And what's your advice for that? Like, I'd say, what's your practice, and then what's your advice? Because you're in a different place than a lot of other people.
Yeah. To answer that, I'll talk about myself first. Because I do often struggle with that. And the way I don't like, I sell a lot, but I don't like to do it. Like most of us don't like to sell, but, I find that I do best when I'm just like sharing my excitement about what I'm doing. So that feels really good to me when I do that. But we also do have like a heavy, email marketing, and we do run sales and things like that. But I do best, and I connect with with people the most, which in turn, brings them into my ecosystem and, converts to sales later on and stuff like that. When I'm just sharing like my excitement about the things that I'm making, and I'm like, I'm teaching this thing, and it's like so cool. Cause I make stuff like, that's kind of how I guide my business, is like, if I'm really excited about it, I'll do it. So just kind of like feeding into that has been such an important thing for me, and people feel that, and they want to be a part of that excitement too. So that's definitely something really, really important to me, which kind of ties into like when you're asking that question, I'm like, well, my brand, my niche isn't like necessarily people that are like, okay, I want to learn this so that I can have this illustration career and I can go like start a business or get a job or whatever. We are like mostly about doing it for the joy and for our own pleasure, and like getting that feeling of like, oh my God, look what I made. Like, this is so great. Like we're chasing a feeling. So that's kind of why I lead with my excitement, because that's what, when it comes down to it, that's what I'm selling, is like, I want you to feel that joy too. So, but
that's a big market of people out there.
It really is. Like, I remember when I started my brush business, and I was like, I want to get these brushes in the hands of some of the best artists, and I want them to use my brushes and make really amazing art. And like, and what I found over the years is like, that's such a small amount of people,
Yeah.
But like, there's so many people that just want to start and they want to learn. And that's what my business is about. It's like really geared towards beginners, which is, it's just like a lot of people. So, yeah.
I need to get my mother-in-law on your program, because she asked me and I just go too deep.
Yeah. And I actually have a lot of like the age range of like the people is, we have anywhere from like people have their kids in there and all the way up to like 70, 80-year-olds. Like, there's a lot of like elderly people that, are like, I'm like, of all the like retirement hobbies you could pick, like you chose the like digital art one. Like, I think that's really admirable. Like, I don't know. Like, it's the technology one,
That's super cool.
So can I
go ahead, Will?
Jump in?
Yeah.
I want to know about your upcoming trip to France, and how that whole thing materialized, and how you figured out you could make it work money-wise and all that. If you anything you want to share about that?
Yeah. So for the France trip, I am partnering with a company called Uptrek, and they actually, this is their whole business, is that they they create these kind of, they get the venue and they, do all the logistics stuff. And then they find artists to come and bring their curriculum and their audience and things like that. So for that one, it's pretty easy because they're like, hey, we'll do all this. You just teach and promote it, and and the pay is good. Yeah, so that was a really like easy thing, and it's kind of interesting because this isn't my first art retreat. I actually did one last year in Mexico, in Oaxaca, in May, and for that one we partnered with a friend who owns a travel agency. We'd done group travel with him before, and he'd never done an art retreat. But we're like, hey, what do you think about doing an art retreat? We think it could be really fun. And so there was a lot more legwork on our side of things because we had to like build a web page and like figure out all the things. He handled the travel stuff, but like there was a lot more to figure out on our end. But it was so much fun. Like I taught at like conferences, I've taught at things like that before, but like I'd never gone to an art retreat or hosted an art retreat, and it was amazing and people had the best time, and it was just so cool because we teach online. We don't get a lot of FaceTime with the people we're teaching, but to be in like one place for a week with these people and like really get to know them, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. So I'm really, really looking forward to the France art retreat. And the Mexico one was a lot of, we got to go out and meet a lot of these artisans that did, they had created alebrijes, little like animal sculptures, textiles, pottery. So a lot of that was going out and meeting these people. And then we did a few art lessons on Procreate back at our hotel. But this France one is like a lot more education. Like we have lots and lots of art. Like we're just basically like staying at one place, doing a couple field trips, but just like making art the whole time. So that one's going to be really, really fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you think most of the people that are going to go to for both the one in Oaxaca and also the one in France, are they mostly your followers that live in that country, or are they coming from the U.S. too?
They're coming. Yeah. There was only one person that lived outside of the U.S. that came to the Mexico trip, but she actually lived in Puerto Rico, so she didn't live in Mexico. And then for the France one, I think there's a couple people that already live in Europe, but a lot of people are coming from the United States. Wow. 6 people that went to the Mexico retreat actually are coming to the France retreat.
Oh, wow.
I didn't expect that. I don't even think I kind of like casually mentioned it when we were in Oaxaca. Oh yeah, the France retreat, we're going to do this. And she's like, you're doing one in France? Oh my gosh. And signed up. And then it kind of like everybody else found out, and like a bunch of people signed up. So I was like, wow. So they had a good time, I guess.
Are you wanting to do these yearly or more than that?
Yeah, I think like at least doing one every year would be like, I love to travel, and I definitely missed it during the pandemic. And this is just like, we did a good amount of travel doing wedding photography. We'd travel around and do weddings and stuff. And, since switching to this business, it's not like, you stay at home and you make videos and brushes and things like that. So getting into these retreats is just, it feels like a dream because I get to travel, I get to teach. We're definitely we're planning on doing Mexico again in 2025. Probably just gonna do the one this year. So yeah, maybe one a year, maybe more, who knows? I have kids, so it's hard to like be gone for a long time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What would you say is like, what can a person expect on a retreat? Because I've never done one before, and they do sound cool and interesting to me, but yeah, I don't even know what to expect.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, it's nice. It's a nice way to travel where everything is just kind of like taken care of for you. You don't have to really worry about, what you're going to do, where you're going to eat and things like that. And then, so that's one thing. And then, getting to spend time with the people that are on the retreat. Like I've done group travel before, and like that's a really cool thing that you don't really think about. Like you get to meet really cool people and spend time with them. Right, and then getting to experience a location in the through the lens of art, and like really getting to explore a place while thinking about making art. Like my employee and we actually just went to Disneyland together. That was kind of her like Christmas bonus. is we took a trip to Disneyland together, and we just planned on sketching the whole time. Like, we rode roads and did things, road rides. But like, it was more about like, let's draw things at Disneyland. And like, it's such a different experience, like going to a place and experiencing it through creating art. So it's kind of all of that wrapped up, and just really, really like memories that you just, I don't know, this stuff that you like will stay with you for the rest of your life. I think like the Mexico trip, I will hold that in my heart and cherish it forever. I know. And so, and future retreats, I know I will too. Like, it's great.
Did you say about how many people come to these?
Yeah. Both of them actually were 16 attendees. Okay. And then my husband and I went together. We bring our employee. So it's the three of us. And then in Mexico we also had like our travel team. So we had guides and like the travel host and things like that. So, so it was a pretty robust team, and then 16 attendees.
That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. So what is like next for Lisa Bardot? What's the next, like, I'm sure you're charting, the next few years, you're making plans. What can we expect if you can share any of it?
Yeah. I just came off a really intense year. Like 2023 was a lot. I released my book in October, and I was also working closely with Procreate on Procreate Dreams. So it was a lot. So this year I'm like trying to find my equilibrium and like, what's my sustainable pace for like doing things. So that's kind of what I'm going to spend this year kind of figuring out, while doing my art retreat this year and things like that. But I do want to like write another book or two. Like, I really did enjoy that process. And I've really had the idea of doing a book centered around my drawing challenge, and like a book of like prompts and motivation and little mini tutorials and things that you can just like pick up and start whenever. Just kind of like taking the best of what I've learned about running this drawing challenge and putting it into book form. So that's like an idea that I want to start working on pretty soon. Yeah. And yeah, I think I'm still like figuring out the future. Like, I want to keep teaching, and I want to keep doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm open to whatever right now, I guess.
I'm curious too, like, your style is so fun and there's energy to it. But it's really focused on here's how to do the craft. Do you have any desire or any like thought towards making actual products that people could like have a Lisa Bardot sketchbook or a Lisa Bardot sticker pack or something like that? I
do have one product that I would really love to create, and that's a bag, because I've been like searching for a good bag that I can kind of treat like a purse, sort of like but that fits my iPad. Like, I don't have anything good, and I haven't found anything good like that. And I love to sew. That's another one of my things that I love to do. So it's been on my list to like sew myself a bag that is like the perfect bag for me. And like, it would be so cool to like start a product for that, but who knows?
Yeah, right. That's a very different business model as well.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, now you're dealing with shipping and sourcing materials and manufacturing all that stuff.
It'd be cool to collab with a company that already does that and just like design the bag and you guys sell it, and I could just tell people about it. Like, that would be cool.
Right.
So many artists are looking to be hired, right? They want to go more of the traditional route of having a client hire them. It sounds like you and your husband have been very entrepreneurial with your wedding business and now this. And I'm just curious, like, how did you have like parents that role modeled, running businesses, or where did that come from? That ability to just see something and go for it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was from my family. My dad was actually really worried for me when I started the wedding photography business. Like, his only kind of like view of, running your own business was like my mom doing Tupperware. And he's like, yeah, she really didn't, like, that was really a struggle. And I'm like, well, it's not exactly like that, Dad. But but I feel like I don't know where it came from, but I've been I think I've been entrepreneurial from a really young age. I remember in like high school, I used to make little necklaces out of Fimo clay and like macrame kind of thing, and like sell those to my friends. And in college I was in a sorority and I would sew like Greek letters and sell them to like, so there's always been something where I'm like, I just want to make something, and I think it's cool that people want to buy it from me, so like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. So, but I mean, when it comes down to it, I just like I need to create things, so that's kind of what drives it. But yeah,
that's cool.
That is cool. I have a question from one of our listeners that I figured we'd tackle. We'll move into that portion of the episode now. Okay, so this comes from Robert, and his subject line is Mr. Ability meet Mr. Vision. Okay, so he says, since you guys have been doing professional illustrations for a while now, when you say that your ability meets your vision and you're able to create what you have in mind, which do you think plays the bigger role in being able to do that? Is it leveling up your abilities so you can create what you envision, or adjusting and calibrating your vision to match your current skill level? So which is it? Like, is it a chicken egg sort of thing? Are you always wanting more vision than skill, or wanting more skill than vision?
I feel like it's probably the first one for me, because I like love to explore different styles. Like I know people like look at my work and they could clearly see my style, but I'm just all over the place. I'm like always trying new things. And so like I think I can like envision the idea of like what I want to create, and I'll do whatever I can to try and figure out how to do that. So whether it's like doing something that I've never done before, like I love that part of the process, like figuring it out. That's why I love creativity. So yeah, I think.
So it's like I have this vision for, a really ambitious illustration, and I've never really drawn people before. I'm really good at like environments, but this one has like multiple people doing very interesting, maybe it's a race. You want to draw a stadium with a race or something like that. So that would be the vision, and your approach would be, okay, let's figure out how to draw people. Let's figure out, how to do lighting and shadowing so we can get those people looking good. Okay.
I'll tell you about what year was it? I don't know, one of the years. I for my drawing challenge, I decided to do a month on drawing people. It was going to be our people month. And I was going into that saying, like, people are so scary. Like, I don't know how to draw people, really. Like, and I feel like most people are like, ooh, like that feels really scary. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to make a bunch of tutorials so people will feel equipped to kind of like start to take on the process, and not going into it like, I very quickly was like, taught myself how to come up with a process that would let people learn how to do it. It wasn't like, this is exactly how to draw people. It's like, this is the process. So you look at all these different references, you draw eyes in like 100 different ways, and you kind of figure out like what your way of drawing, like look at it, like look at the real thing. These are all the different parts of an eye. Which parts of those are you going to draw? And then in what way are you going to draw them? So that was like a whole series on basically doing that for like eyes, nose, mouth, head, bodies. And I put together like, I think like 15 or something tutorials in the span of a month. It was insane. I sometimes get an idea and it's like, I don't take into account that it's not good for my body to do that, but I just have to do it. And that's what I'm trying to like, when I'm talking about like a
chill
sustainable pace. I'm like, okay, what can I reasonably get done so that I can like have a life and be healthy and things like that.
You know what's interesting about that, her approach, Jake, is that she's coming from a graphic design background, and one of the things that when I was teaching illustration at university is I wanted my students to take more of that approach of seeing the bigger picture, like having a plan, because graphic designers are really good at planning. You know what I mean? Like you're organizing, right? And they just want to start drawing. And I'm like, you're not seeing, you don't have a plan. You're not seeing the bigger picture. You're not thinking about the end. And your description of that of the way that you approach drawing people is more in line with the way I would teach students who want to do stylized illustration, right? So that's really interesting, and graphic designers just that
I never thought about it like relating that to like my graphic design, like.
But I think illustrators need, like you were saying earlier, Jake, they need more graphic design than they get. It's like you go into an illustration program or you go into a graphic design program, and they both can benefit from each other.
Right. And to go back to Robert's question, I think you have to, if you want to improve in anything, you have to have a longer vision, a broader vision, to kind of see yourself where you could be. Because if you're always just like, well, I'm no good at drawing people, so I guess I'll just live in this, this tiny little box that doesn't have people in it, right? You're not how are you ever gonna learn how to draw people if you can't like envision yourself drawing people or certain, and we're just using people as whatever it could be. Somebody could be great at character design and really stink at environments, right? So insert whatever thing is you're struggling there. I think that's the same for me too. It's like for many years I resisted this comic book idea that I had for a graphic novel because it would require me to draw figures that were less stylized and more realistic. But it was like this idea that I really had, and eventually I was like, it's never going to happen if I don't just draw it poorly first, And what's funny is you start down that path, and it's almost like, training for anything. Like if you're hiking a mountain, your legs might not be equipped to do it at the beginning, but through the act of hiking, you get stronger, and you tack it, and you go on a 2-mile hike, and then a 5-mile hike, then a 10-mile hike, and pretty soon you're able to like summit that mountain of whatever it is you're struggling with. But it wouldn't happen by just walking flat ground, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm getting really deep in all the metaphors.
No, I get it.
I don't even know where we're at. Are we talking about hiking anymore, or drawing anymore? That's super cool. You did bring up something. I'm curious what your daily schedule is. Like, you had to drop off kids this morning. That's why we met at a certain time. But are you a late worker? Are you an early worker? How do you like balance everything?
Yeah. So I've been, another thing I'm working on being better about is like my routine. But I have from like 9 to 6 to do my work. Like that's when we have childcare. So that's usually what I'm just working that whole time. But what I've been trying to do, so in the morning, we get ready in school and that kind of thing. And and then this year especially, I've been really trying to get back into my own personal creative practice. Like I said, in 2016, I did it every day. And then I started this drawing challenge, and then it kind of like fell off. It fell off for me. I was drawing a lot to make tutorials. I was building businesses and like having babies and whatever. And so I didn't I didn't give myself the time to really focus on my own personal creative practice. But this year felt like a good year to do that. So I've been doing something every day just for me to draw, either on my iPad or my sketchbook, which has been really amazing. So I'm either like starting my day by doing that, and then I'll like jump into all my work tasks, and whether it's recording a video, editing, social media, whatever, all the things, talking with my employee. And then I'm a pretty hard worker, so I'll usually stay in it until 6 and then go in with the family and have dinner and put the kids to bed. And if I have any energy left, I might pull out. I used to, every time I put the kids to bed, I'd pull my computer back out and get back to work. So I'm trying not to work, but sometimes I'll draw, depending on if I did my daily drawing in the morning or not, or I'll just relax. I have trouble relaxing, so.
Do you have any like mechanisms for that context shift? Like, how do you get into the work mode, and how do you shift between creative versus administrative, and then how do you shift out of business time to family time?
So it's something I've been starting to recognize, is that I'm not that great at transitioning. Like it's hard for when I'm like, I love my work and I really get into it. So when I go in and with the family, like my brain's kind of still half there.
Oh yeah.
So
Same.
one of my goals this year is to kind of in the last 30 minutes of my day to just kind of like stop my tasks and focus on like, I don't know, thinking about what I'm going to do the next day. And so I can just leave it behind. And then like getting into work, I think like drawing before I start work has also been a really nice transition where it goes from like personal family to personal me to work. So I'm working on it. I'm not going to say I've got it all figured out, but I'm working on it.
I think that's good to point out to people that, like, I look at you, I look how much you've been able to accomplish, and this stuff didn't happen. Again, it's like you had the vision first. You didn't have everything figured out. Like, okay, first I'm going to do make these brushes, and then we're going to launch a YouTube channel. We're going to use a brush tutorial to launch the YouTube channel, and then at some point we're going to make these courses, and then we'll start a group, a art community, and then once we get all that going, we're going to like make sure we've got retreats planned out, and then we're going to make a bag, and like it seems to me like while planning is important, like a lot of it is, oh, here's an opportunity, let's just go for it. We're not ready, but if we don't go for it, we're gonna miss it. Is that more what it's like?
That sounds very accurate, actually. Yeah, because I'm just, I kind of, if I have an idea, like I'll just kind of like, I'm pretty impulsive. So if I have an idea, I'll just like, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And my husband and I have always been pretty like risky. Like we aren't the play it safe kind of people normally. We're just like, why not? That sounds kind of crazy. Let's do that thing, like, even the art retreats, like we didn't know, putting it together with somebody that's never done it before, We're just like, well, let's figure it out. Like everything is like even going back to like drawing people and what we were talking about earlier, like everything is figure outable, like that's kind of how I see things. Like you can always figure it out, and there's so little in the world that's not been done already. So it's like other people have figured it out. I'm sure I could figure it out. If not, I'll figure out my way of doing it,
Yeah. So many people have paralysis over starting things like that. And I think it's so much better to fail than to not do at all and not learn from those failures. And I watched a video the other day where this lady was saying that her dad in her upbringing would ask the kids when they came home, what did you fail at today? And would really reward them for opening up about something that they failed at, because we put so much emphasis on success that we teach our kids inadvertently to fear failure when really that's usually how we learn things. And so
I love that. I like that. That's a conversation. I think I might try that with my kids.
What did you guys fail at today? Our family dinner question when we sit down is, what was the best thing that happened to you today? Because a lot of times you can just get caught up like, this was a bad day. Kids yelled at me at school and I tripped and skinned my knee, and so we're always like, okay, name one good thing that happened to you today. One, if you can think of it. And sometimes it's like,
oh, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say sometimes it's like, my bed was really comfy this morning, and I enjoyed the extra, minute that I got to lay in there or whatever. It could be something simple like that. But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say we always do positive sandwich, where we like one positive thing that happened, one negative thing that happened, and then we end it with a positive, and we try to like. When we get to the negative we like try to identify like an emotion, actually for all three parts, like what emotion, and it can't just be like happy, sad, like was it frustrating, was it exciting, or like so
disgusting
like,
or hilarious, right?
Yeah,
that's cool. I really like that. Well, do you have any other questions, Will? I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
I think we did good. That's a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun chatting with you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. All right, so we just talked to Lisa. Again, check out her work at Lisa Bardot. No, what is it? Bardotbrush.com. Just do a search for Lisa Bardot. She's got a YouTube channel. She's got an Instagram account. And she has her artmakersclub.com, which is her online community. You should also check that out as well. Anything you want to add? Any key takeaways you had from this, Will?
Yeah, I think that she has an advantage over illustrators in that she is skilled in graphic design. And when I was looking through her website, it's so well laid out. What like the thought involved, and also the way she used color and the way she dressed herself up to present herself is all branded. And that's something that I see illustrators really struggling with. They might be good at making an image, but then when it comes to promoting their own work, their website does not in any way enhance what they're creating. Hers does, and that's so important. And we talk about that in there a little bit.
My big thing from her too is she said at one point, everything is figure outable.
Yeah.
I love that. If you ever come to a roadblock in an art career or in a illustration that you're making, or in, whether it's social media or getting an agent or something like that, figure it out. Like everything is figure outable. Go talk to somebody who's been there before, get advice.
Whenever you have an opportunity
on it.
Whenever you have an opportunity, take it, because it's figure outable.
Exactly. So we will just take us out from there. All right. 3-Point Perspective is made possible by SVSLearn, where becoming a great illustrator starts. Your hosts are Will Terry, Lee White, and Jake Parker. We have a few shout outs we want to give to people who help make this podcast possible. Special thanks to Daniel 2. That's Daniel2.co is his website. It's spelled DanielTU.co. Special thanks to our keeper of the curriculum, Austin Shirtliff, our show notes wrangler, Lily Howell, our chief operations officer, Lisa Fott. And I want to also shout out, we haven't been shouting her out, but if you go to our YouTube channel, a lot of our episodes have illustrations that are associated with each episode. And it's usually a red bunny. And these are done by Annalise. What's her last name, Will?
Black.
Annalise Black. So special thanks to Annalise for our illustrations that she does for our podcast. She's doing a great job, and
everything else she does. Customer support and whatnot. So thanks to that. That's it for us today. Now go draw something.